Distinguished, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am very, very honored and humbled to have been invited to give the closing address to such a distinguished international audience in the pursuit of creating a better world through education. Now, many of you possesses the vision and the understanding of the many hurdles that needed to be addressed, some of which did not exist when Charles Chan had the bold vision to execute a long-term initiative with a positive impact capable of changing the lives of many people for better. Now, I would like to take a moment to reflect on this visionary journey Charles has embarked on in 2016 to promote education development and improvement on a global scale. Its aim to inspire innovative thinking and transformative actions in education, recognizing and supporting the exceptional individuals and organizations seeks to create a positive and lasting global impact on education. Now, today's speakers from across the spectrum of academia have addressed many of the increasingly complex issues facing us today in such an unstable world due to poverty, conflict, climate change, or natural disasters, and a growing divide between those with the primary access to education and those without. These may result from access, poverty, race, gender, and other reasons. But as everyone here today understands, education is crucial and critical to empowering people and creating an inclusive, sustainable world. Never in my lifetime have I witnessed the conflict, the carnage, and the trauma that is the everyday norm for many people, young and old. Therefore, it is beholden on everyone here today to redouble our efforts and do what is needed to provide access to education to all. What is apparent from today is that education needs to change to meet the future needs of an equitable society. Teachers have to prepare students for a world that doesn't exist yet. So what it means to be a teacher is also changing. Education is more than passing on information in a world where knowledge quickly becomes outdated. It is about instilling students with the skills and qualities to help them throughout their lives. Teachers are more than ever important now. Yet they are more often and not underpaid and undervalued, and the schools they work in are under-resourced. Education may be changing, but one thing remains true. Teachers are crucial for students to thrive academically and emotionally. Now, as we learned at last year's event, according to the United Nations, teachers are the single most influential variables in a child's education. As research revealed, the link between good mental health in youth and success in later life, there's a growing awareness that well-being and academic outcomes go hand in hand. Teachers need support from all sides to adapt to the future's requirements and challenges. So we must bridge the gap between the education theory and practice and encourage more public-private sector support. And we must place teachers at the forefront of education to set a generation up for a world forever more rapid change. But the responsibilities does not rest with educators alone. Families and communities have an essential role. We now live in the era of technological advances, changing our world and providing the new opportunities to deliver education through previously unavailable channels, such as social media. Artificial intelligence role in determining the quality and delivery of education raises essential ethical and other questions. But we have tremendous potential to enhance the learning outcomes worldwide. Inclusivity is paramount, especially for the learners facing limited resources and access. I want to thank everyone for being here today, for their unselfish contributions now and in the future. I want to conclude by emphasizing the quality of education is paramount, as is education for all, and to reflect the mission of the Yidan Prize. That is, where learning flourishes, so does society. Ladies and gentlemen, that ends my official closing remark, but I thought I just want to use this occasion to say a few things. First, I really want to thank Charles for the Yidan Prize Summit to bring so many of you back to Hong Kong. I was told by Charles that we have many of you from overseas here today. Now, Hong Kong has been through a very tough 3-4 years. 3-4 years that pretty much cut off Hong Kong from the rest of the world. So it's so important for you to come back, for those of you from overseas, to come back to Hong Kong and see for yourself what is happening in our society. Unlike everywhere else in the world, we are forever even more divided and polarized in all sorts of issues. And we do need to have common topics such as better education as a common platform for everyone to stay engaged. Now, I thought I wanted to tell you a story, especially for those who never been to Hong Kong, or even for those of you who've been absent from Hong Kong the 3-4 years. A lot of things have happened in Hong Kong in the 3-4 years. We have now 2 world-class museums open in Hong Kong. Now, those of you from Hong Kong will know where I'm going, because I am very involved in the 2 museums. I am the founding chairman for the Palace Museum and also the chairman for the M+ Museum. Unfortunately, you have less than 1 hour because the museum will close at 6 o'clock. The M+ is closed today. It's open tomorrow, but tomorrow Palace closed. So unfortunately, until you stay till Wednesday, you don't get to see Palace, because I don't think you can make it to Palace in time. It's 2 amazing museums. They are both open in the middle of COVID, so none of you have been there. So if you haven't been, please, because it really tells you the story. And in case you haven't had a chance, so I'll maybe just give you, I know I was told that I only got 2 minutes and 28 seconds, but I'm sure you can bear with me. Let me show you how is it connected to the topic of education. So these 2 museums were 25 years in making. We first came out of the idea 25 years ago. Like everything else in Hong Kong, it took us 10 years for debate. What exactly we should do about it. So finally they are open, and they are open at the most appropriate time. These 2 museums help to reconnect Hong Kong back to the world. Now, let me just tell you about Palace. Now, there are two Palace Museums in the world. There's one in Beijing, the Beijing Palace Museum, and there's one in Taipei. Now, so when Hong Kong were giving the opportunity to build the Hong Kong Palace Museum, now we do not have the collections at all. We have none, we have no treasures. So we had to borrow from Beijing. So the former chief executive of Hong Kong, Carrie Lam, she asked me to be in charge of the project. I was the founding chairman, so she asked me to be in charge. Now, I know nothing about Chinese art. But she said to me, this is an important project. You are in charge. So I went up to Beijing. I met with my counterpart, the Beijing Palace Museum director. And he was somewhat shocked to find out that I'd never been to his museum before. So he's like, why is Hong Kong government sending this guy to deal with me when he didn't even know anything about us? But anyway, that's besides the point. So when I came back to Hong Kong, then I asked myself, what kind of museum are we building? Are we going to be building a museum just for those who are interested in Chinese art, Chinese culture? Right? That was pretty straightforward. But that will be a completely failure. Right? In the last session, we talked about inclusiveness. Are we just going to build this? We're spending, by the way, we spent 3.5 billion Hong Kong dollars to build a museum. That's roughly about 420 million US. Did we just spend $400 million just to build a museum for those who only enjoy Chinese art? No. I think it has to be more than that. But then I asked myself, for those who are really into Chinese art, they would say the best is in Beijing. Oh, no, sorry. To a lot of people, no, they say the best is in Taipei. No, actually, some would even say the best is in London, British Museum, because they stole from us. But it doesn't matter whether it's Beijing, Taipei, or London, it ain't gonna be in Hong Kong. So how do we compete? Why are we building a museum here? Why would you even come here? Right? If you want the best Chinese art, ancient art, you should just go to New York. Sorry, New York. You should just go to Beijing. You should just go to Taipei or London. So how do we distinguish ourselves from them? Right? How? Anyone here know? Well, the reason why I stole this from my table was this. For someone like me who knows nothing about Chinese art, or I shouldn't say know nothing, I don't know how to appreciate Chinese art. When I see a ceramics like this, right? Okay, I look at the back. All right. Well, unless you're the experts, I can't tell this is Qing Dynasty, or is it Ming Dynasty, or Tang, or even better, this could be from the Swedish IKEA. I can't tell. And whether you place it in Beijing, or you place it in Taipei, or London, it doesn't really matter. So to me, what really matters about this is the story. Is how you present the story and how you sell the story, right? It's all about curatorial narrative. How do you control that narrative? So back to the subject of education. I think it's not about the knowledge itself. Today, you can access to knowledge in all forms of channels. But I think what really matters is how do you deliver that knowledge? How do you present that? So at my museum today, if you stay long enough in Hong Kong, because for Palace Museum, it will be Wednesday for you, because it's closed tomorrow. The way we present it is not just about, because if you go to Beijing, apparently in Beijing, there's 3,000 years of history of Chinese. By the way, I was told by the museum director, they have 1.3 million objects. Any one time, they're only showing 2%. They only show 2%. We borrow 900 pieces from Beijing to present at our museum, many of which are class 1. But the way we present is very different. We tell a story, especially our aim are for those who have no exposure to Chinese culture, right? So we're not going to impose a 3,000 years history on them. We're here to tell them the story. How does Chinese culture started? So if you come to our museum, at one of our gallery 2, we tell the life of the 24-hour cycle of the Emperor Qinglong. And we use the object to tell the stories. Apparently the first piece, if you go to gallery 2, the very first object that you see is a clock. And it tells the story at the very beginning at 4 a.m. So apparently, Emperor Qinglong is a very hardworking emperor. I thought all emperor, got nothing to do. But apparently, he gets up every morning at 4 o'clock. That's how he started his day. He ends his day early too, at 8, but he started at 4. So we use that object to tell what he does during that 24 hours. And by the way, that object, you see the clock. When you see it, you say, wait a minute, That doesn't look anything like Chinese object at all, because it's not. The clock is the British, it's from made in UK. And that itself also tells a story. International trade exists hundreds and hundreds of years before our time. China has always been in trade with the world. It's not just now, it's not just here, it's not just now we're talking about, it's been around for centuries. So we use this object to tell all these different stories. And if you come to my museum today, right, for those of you who've never been there before, you're like, wow. But I tell you what, it's not just for our international friends. Even among our Chinese friends from the mainland, even though when 5 years afterwards, when the museum opened, the Beijing Palace Museum director came. And after we toured him for 1 hour, I asked him, what do you think? And he was so impressed. He said, wow, well, we learned something from you too. Yeah, we hadn't thought about using this way to sell that story, to tell that story. So there you are. I think, and I hope this is what the role of Hong Kong. You know, so some of you may know that, you know, one of the main messages that we've been selling everybody is that we are the East meet West. But what exactly is East meet West means? The way I look at it is by understanding the different perspective. We cannot always just see it from our perspective, but we also have to see the perspective from the others. And to me, that's called inclusiveness. You cannot just simply come from where we are and impose those values on others. We need to respect each other's different religion, different culture differences. And I really very thankful to Charles for providing this summit, and obviously providing the prize, to allow this to happen. The world is forever even more needed for such engagement and dialogue. So I want to thank Charles for providing this opportunity. I know for 7 years, uninterrupted, even throughout the COVID time, but this is even better. For the first time, everyone's back here in Hong Kong, and we look forward to welcome you back again for more dialogue, more engagement. And if you don't have the time this time to visit the museum, please come back again next year. And Charles, you can count on me. I can be their personal guide to walk through our museum, because it's amazing. We have the best contemporary Chinese art and international art at the M+ Museum, because the M+ is a contemporary art museum. Palace Museum is ancient art. So these are the two museums, but we have other culture facilities as well. Hong Kong government already have invested, guess what? $5 billion into these cultural offerings, and it's only 45% built. I'm the vice chairman of the district, and we still need to raise more money to finish the rest of the district, maybe another 15, 20 years, because we still have to build the music center, the Broadway theater, and so on and so on. But by having that $5 billion invested already, is really putting Hong Kong in the cultural map. And this is where it's most needed right now, where the world is continuing to be equally, I mean, even more increasingly divided. We need something that can actually bring someone together, have a proper dialogue, whether it's sustainability or in the forms of arts and culture, and this today is education. So thank you, everyone, and I hope you have an enjoyable day today so far. And again, for those planning to stay an extra day, please go to visit our museum. Thank you very much.